We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. If you could all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, is there any public comment?
I have one, Mr. Chairman.
If I may, Arthur Mallory, District Attorney. Just want to note and congratulate Churchill County High School for making the high school playoffs. As of Friday, they'll have 2 more games, unfortunately not in Fallon. They did an outstanding job the second half of playing that football game. So I think that should be noted and appreciated. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, and good luck to them on Friday. Can I get a verification of the posting of the agenda, please?
Pam Moore, for the record, the agenda was posted on November 4th between the hours of 1 and 5 at the locations listed on the agenda in accordance with statutes.
Thank you, Pam. Can I get an approval of this agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of the agenda as submitted.
Mr. Chair, I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Number 6, consideration and possible action, approval of the minutes of the meeting held on May 21st, 2025. Can I get a approval of those minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to find that the staff shortage in the clerk treasurer's office have caused delays to the completion of the minutes and to approve the minutes of the meeting held on May the 21st, 2025 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Our first appointment, 7A, consideration and possible action, approval of a revision to acreage parcel map application PC 25-9 filed by Jim Massini Petroleum LLC for property located at 7925 Reno Highway, APN 007-271-43 and APN 007-271-56, whereby the applicant proposes a revision to acreage map to merge lots. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Randy Hines, Public Works Planning and Building. Again, this is a simple reversion to acreage. The owner has the 2 parcels, wants to combine them into one to create more room for existing commercial businesses on the property.
Thank you, Randy. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Any public comment? If none, a motion, please.
Mr. Chair, I move that the findings have been in conformance with the criteria found in Churchill County Code 16.04.040C and 16.04.050A, and therefore to approve the application for the revision to the acreage for Jim Massini LLC to merge APN 007-217-43-007-71-56 located at 7925 Reno Highway and Reno Highway APN 007-271-56 subject to conditions as listed in the staff report.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. 7B, consideration and possible action, approval of a tentative subdivision map application PC 25-8 filed by Casey Road LLC for the Sand Creek subdivision for property located at 2685 Casey Road, APN numbers 008-792-95 and APN 008-792-11, consisting of 47.37 acres in the R1 zoning district, whereby the applicant proposes to create about 180 lots. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Randy Hines for the record. This property is part of the old Stone Ranch planned unit development that was originally approved at the beginning of 2023. The applicant determined that this project is too difficult to market and develop. The subject application will reconfigure the north unit of the PUD from a multifamily development of roughly 500 units into 180 single-family dwelling units. The proposed layout of this tentative map falls in line with the original layout of the Sand Creek subdivision that was designed back in 2004, 2005. But since then, codes have changed, so this tentative map has been updated to conform to Churchill County Code as it sits today. the staff report goes over all the details of the subdivision. I do want to note that when we presented this to the Planning Commission, there were still quite a few revisions that were made from agencies and staff and the county surveyor that map that wasn't done before that map went to the Planning Commission. Since then, the Planning Commission, or the map has been revised, which really eliminates 85% of the conditions of approval that are in there. So I gave you guys this morning a strike, the conditions from the Planning Commission with the striked out ones that we'll be taking out. I do like to note that condition 2 really stays in place, and that talks about the more of the phasing of how the project goes and what improvements need to be done for each phase. Phase 1 will consist of the improvements to Casey Road, which includes a turn pocket coming in the subdivision, and that really conforms to the traffic report that was done for the project. Phase 5, we'll tie in Wildcat Parkway into Birch Lane, so that'll be the second entrance into that subdivision. With the recording of the first final map, the parcel located at Birch and Allen will be dedicated to the county. This will allow us to realign Allen Road to be more of a perpendicular intersection for Allen Road and Birch. And I think that's it on condition 2. We do have condition 10, which the improvement, there are no off-site water and sewer improvements for the project, so we've taken all these line items out, but we do have one condition for the water line running along Wildcat Parkway to be upsized to a 12-inch water line from the intersection of Eagle Rock to Birch Lane, and this substantially conforms to the water and wastewater master plan. And then the final condition, I'm going to go back to 2, was the 2D, which phase 1 shall include an establishment of a financial agreement or arrangement for the road maintenance, including stormwater, street lighting, and power costs, that is acceptable to the county prior to the recording of the first final map. This can include a special assessment district, homeowners association, or other alternative. One of the recommendations from the Planning Commission was to take the special assessment district out, because that was a discussion that was done during the Planning Commission meeting. And I think since then, we've had some more information, and I think Mr. Moon and the applicant has some further information for that regarding a maintenance plan for the roads. So with that, I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Randy. Any questions or comments from board or staff?
One question I have is the streets, are they going to be, the black top portion of the streets, are they 50-foot wide, 60-foot wide? They had it both on the site plan there.
So the original Sand Creek development had 50-foot right-of-ways. And again, that was designed back in the early 2000s. Since then, we've changed code to have 60-foot right-of-way minimum. So these transition from where they tie into 50 to 60-foot right-of-ways.
Okay. And then it's R1 zoning for all the lots, correct?
Correct.
Do you know what kind, can you put manufactured housing there? Can you put only stick built?
You know, I tried to look that up this morning. I'd have to look into that and answer that. The intent of the project is to get this to a final map stage and have a developer develop stick-built houses for the project. That's the intent of the project.
All right, thank you. That's all.
Any other questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? If none, a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, item A, approve the Sand Creek Number 2 tentative subdivision map application submitted by Casey Road LLC to divide APN 008-79211 and 008-79295 into 180 lots, subject to conditions as listed in the staff report. And item B, to void the previously approved Old Stone Ranch planned unit development.
Second.
7B's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Randy. 7C, consideration possible action, presentation from the Churchill Animal Protection Society, CAPS, regarding the development of their building. Someone here to speak for this on CAPS?
Hi, thanks for having us. We'll start with our shelter improvements. You guys were very generous last year, and we were able to get lots of new stuff, but you guys gave us the money to put new floors in, not only inside of the shelter, but also in all of the indoor kennels. So, next slide. Let's see. Nope. So inside, this is a picture of the new kennel or indoor flooring. The kennel flooring is the same. We were also, with the help of all volunteers, we fixed the interior of the entire building, which, if you'd ever been out there, it needed a lot of work. Repainted. We're in the process of fixing all of the door frames, which had major needs. They were all chewed and everything. And then we're going to paint the doors. Next slide, please. We had new cat condos donated from Pet Network in Lake Tahoe. And so our whole cat room is all redone, as well as the flooring in there as well. Sorry. Next slide, please. This is the new kennel flooring. So we have two sets of kennels. We have indoor kennels and outdoor kennels for the dogs. The indoor kennels have all been redone. They were concrete floors before that had all been degrading and deteriorating away. And so now the indoor kennels have an indoor-outdoor space, and then we also have bigger outdoor kennels for the dogs to go to in the daytime. So these are all redone, thanks to the donation from you guys. Next slide, please. And this is just kind of, what was that? Anyways, overall, we've been able to do a lot. The new floors made a big difference, but we really wanted to stress that everything else that we did was through the help of volunteers. Navy volunteers, community volunteers, and just the volunteers that we have at the shelter on a regular basis came out and did all of the other work, not only inside, but outside. We've done a lot of cleanup outside. We, I think, emptied multiple of the giant dumpsters of stuff from out there. I don't know how, it was a lot. And we've done major cleanup. We partnered with Love Fallon recently, and they came out there and did more cleanup, and I think that was just this last month. And they had a pile of weeds that was as tall as me, and as wide too, as if I was laying down. That's how, there's a lot of work that needed to be done out there, but we're continuing to make progress, and I just wanted to share that with you guys, that we're not done, but we are just working really hard to continue to improve everything out there. So thank you so much for helping us make this possible.
Thank you guys and your
Yeah.
volunteers for doing what you do for the community.
Thank you.
Is there any questions or comments from the board or staff?
Yeah, we just want to echo that. The county is grateful for what your group does for this community.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chair, Chris Sprouse for the record. I know one of the things that was on the list to do was, I think you have an old boiler out there or something like that for heating. Is that still scheduled to be worked on, or has that been done?
We don't have, they took that out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they took that out, and some of this stuff was done before I came on. I just took on the presidency in August, and I only joined the board at the end of last year. But they took that boiler out, I know that much.
Okay.
There's still a lot of stuff that needs to be done, but we did get new heating and air conditioning units in there, and I think is that in reference to that? We did. We got new independent units in the inside. I think we have 7 units total. We have 5 inside, and then 2 in the kennel area. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I would just say I was out there prior to this, and the work that's been done is amazing, so thank you.
Very good. Okay, we'll jump
Thank
to
you so much.
7D, consideration and possible action, application for continued support funding for CAPS in the amount of $17,000 with an annual update on activities. Chris, do you want to kind of just briefly mention this, how this works?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Sprouse for the record. So
The county gives money to CAPS on an annual basis. It was typically $20,000 if I remember correctly, or possibly 25. About 2 years ago, when we had some budget constraints, that amount was reduced to $17,000. So this is kind of the annual request to come in and ask for that annual funding.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Is there any questions or comments from board or staff?
I just have some comment. We've got a compensation study that we're going to be doing, and I'm not saying no to this. I'm saying we might want to see what comes of that compensation study, because my fear is that we're going to have to come up with a bunch of money, and 17,000 here, 10,000 there. We might be looking to claw this back. Like I said, I'm not against it. I just think the timing right now for us to commit to that, we have a workshop today on the compensation study, and I'm just not comfortable right now moving forward. And that's going to be the theme of the day, honestly, for me. There's more stuff coming on the agenda, and so I'm not comfortable granting that at this time
Okay.
until we get that compensation study done.
Eric, do you have any thoughts on that?
I just wanted to clarify the funding it's in the budget, correct, Mr. Sprouse?
That's correct. So this money for this year was put in the budget during the budget process. So yes, that money has been set aside for this contribution for this fiscal year.
For this fiscal year, I'm okay with, but anything beyond that.
Okay.
And this is something normal. This is sort of the donation we give to CAPS, the way I understand it, is sort of our way of having a animal control in the county to help with the city contract that we have. So it's definitely vitally important. And I do agree with Commissioner Hyde that we're going to have to pay attention here moving forward on our future spending. So, but at this moment, since it's connected to this fiscal year, I'm okay with it.
As am I.
This fiscal, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, is there any public comment on this agenda item?
It's basically just to spend wisely right now, because we don't know where we're going to be at moving forward.
Okay, if there's no public comment, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the insurance of continued support, because it's in the budget for the funding of Churchill County Protection Society in the amount of $17,000 for fiscal year '26.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 7E, consideration and possible action, request to appropriate a portion of previously authorized additional funding for the Churchill Animal Protection Society in the amount of $10,812 from the original $106.10 towards necessary drainage repairs in the kennel area. You guys want to take this one?
So we had leftover funding from the floors, and we have some pretty severe drainage issues outside of the indoor kennel space, between the indoor and the outdoor kennel space. We've had some quotes, and we need a new catch basin installed and concrete removal to do that. And apparently the plumbing company that does the catch basin does not do the concrete removal, so we have to have a different construction company come in and do the concrete removal. And so we would like to be able to use that money to do that, and then also install potentially a French drain unit, because we believe that we could do that more cost effectively in that area to help with the future drainage issues that are happening. We've had some concrete we have concrete slabs out there and they've settled. We've already actually in the past 3 weeks lifted some of the concrete that has settled. We've gone under there, dug under, lifted up the concrete, and leveled it so that it's not holding water in certain areas. That was an issue. But we're having algae build up, and then the water's not draining, and so we would like to be able to potentially use that funding that we didn't use for the floors to go towards those drainage issues that we're having.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments from board or staff?
Concerning the funding, Mr. Sprouse, does this make that, does that make the 106, does that finish that little project there?
That's a good question. Is this the balance to get to 106,000? So this is not over and above, or, okay. So this previously approved $106,000 for this work, this will get them to that point.
So, and then that'll be finished, that little project, and we're done. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Did you complete everything that you wanted, and this was kind of the leftover?
Yeah, that was the leftover from the flooring project. We didn't have to spend as much as initially was quoted, and so that was the leftover from that. And we would like to be able to, I guess, continue to make more repairs. And I don't know if it's going to cost that amount. We initially got a quote from D&D, and then we got a quote from Cheek Construction, and I think Cheek Construction initially gave us, and they overquoted us because they thought they had to remove 18 linear feet of concrete, and it's not that much, so I do believe it will be less, but that was like a $12,000 concrete work, and I'm like, this isn't right. So I do think it will be less, and if so, then I don't know if we need to come back and ask to use it for another project, because there's plenty of work that still needs to be done, unfortunately, but we're making headways slowly but surely.
Okay, is there any public comment? Or any other comment from board or staff? If none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion on this item to approve the request to appropriate a portion of previously authorized additional funding for the Churchill County Animal Protection Society in the amount of $10,812 from the original amount of $106,010 toward the necessary drainage repairs in the kennel area. And this makes the balance of 106 project to zero.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you guys for your time and everything you do.
Mr. Chair, just a quick note. They had asked whether or not if there was a balance left up to that 106,000, if you wanted them to come in. I think we should wrap that up right now. I mean, it's obviously the decision of the board, but I don't foresee there's going to be a lot of money left, so it'll likely be some incidentals. If you want to give them the authorization to spend up to that 106 without coming back to the board, that would probably help them out.
Clarify
But
that.
that's your decision to make.
What is your guys'
Do we want to
preference on that?
revisit the motion, or just make a new motion, or just do a addition to the
I think you could just do a new motion authorizing CAPS to use those funds as they see fit, or if you guys don't want to go that route, then
I really don't think there's going to be anything left, so.
it'll be very, very little, yeah. So, but even if it's $300, they still need a motion to
Right.
use that, so.
I'd say it was just make an additional motion to the item, any money left over from the $10,812 approved today, that it can be used for any necessary repairs to the facility or the property. Only.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, guys.
I just
We'll
want to
grab
add
a
one
picture real
item.
quick.
Once you guys spend the money, if you could just give us the accounting of it, just so we have it for our records when you're all done. Thanks.
Okay, we'll jump to letters received. Did anyone want to pull any of those off?
Mr. Chairman, on letter F, do we need to have they're having that meeting later today, do we have comments, or does Mr. Spross think that we need to have comments for that letter or anything?
This is really, it comes down to the fact this is a directive from the state. In the 83rd legislature, there was some legislation passed that allows the county to request some community benefit as a result of an abatement. Obviously, there's a considerable savings to the applicant, and so that's really all we can do. We've returned a letter that says we've received the notice that we have the abatement, but there's really not much you can make for comment.
Thank you for that. I have nothing further.
I just
Okay.
have something to add here. This is the abatement, so when you guys see the sales tax number and you see sales tax going up, these are the type of things that would decrease the sales tax that we're actually receiving or the assessment on the properties that they're being abated.
Anything else that someone wants to pull from letters received? Okay, we'll jump to old business. 9A, consideration and possible action, approval of the request to advertise for bids for the proposed civil improvements for the employee parking lot located at 270 South Main Street, whereby the estimated cost for the project is $256,500. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Randy Hines for the record. So back in March, we came to you regarding the parking lot at 270. And it was more because there was an agreement with the Elks to use some of their parking that they have behind their building for our parking during business hours. And then they could use the rest of the parking on our parcel for their events and stuff. In that agreement, it had talked about paving that parking lot. I had come up with an engineer's estimate. I think it was 160,000. Wait a minute, hold on. It was 160,500-ish was the opinion of probable construction costs that I'd came up with back in March. Since then, we've done a geotech investigation on the parcel, and we have a set of improvement plans that have been done for the parking lot, which has, I'm not sure if we've got those, Pam, which has the actual final layout that we deem works well for that kind of L-shaped parcel that's there. During the geotechnical investigation, we found out that there's unsuitable material. So there's clayey soils down there, and with that, the engineer recommends a thicker asphalt section with a thicker base section with a geogrid that goes along that, and that'll help us to get the lifespan of that parking lot to last at least throughout the duration of the agreement with the Elks. With that added section, that actually increased the cost of the parking lot for the asphalt and the geogrid about $60,000. There's also about a $10,000 increase from what I had put together, what they put together for some drainage improvements, and that's more for the subsurface infiltration chambers. And then there's another $15,000 additional in contingency funds that were included in this engineer's estimate from the engineer. So again, we kind of had an idea there was some unsuitable material in there with the demolition of that existing building. We just weren't aware that it's really all over the site. So it makes sense to actually remediate that or put some improvements in there to help make this parking lot last quite a bit longer than what it would if we didn't do that. So with that, I can answer any questions on the design and or the engineer's estimate. We'll go from there.
Thank you, Randy. Any questions or comments from board or staff?
I don't have any. I have a comment. I guess a question that I'm certain of the answer. This was not in the current budget. And for that reason, we're going to have to come up with an alternative. Because again, we have a compensation study coming, and that's a big chunk of money that I'm not sure we can spend right now. And it is not currently in our budget, so I am not for doing this currently. If we can do something else to get us by in that parking lot, if we can go blade it and roller it and do something to get us by, I'm fine with that, but I'm not willing to spend that kind of money right now, not with what we have coming.
Since then, we have actually, when we went through there, when they ripped the building out, they based it, they've graded it, it just kind of drains it within itself. Unfortunately, there's no striping, there's no rhyme or reason to an actual parking lot. It's just a gravel space. So, when you get, if you don't have the necessary striping in there to actually have some organization in that parking lot, we really lose the amount of parking that's in there, just because of that factor. So if there was some sort of, if we could, I don't know how we could accommodate that. Really, it can be a mess, especially when the Elks have their events during the week. They come in at 4:00, and it turns into a zoo in there. So I'm not sure what kind of other actions or other things we could do to help that situation. But this paving it would definitely alleviate that problem. So.
Randy, by not paving it, does it jeopardize the agreement that we have with the Elks?
Mr. Sprouse, I'll answer that. Joe Sanford for the record. Our agreement with the Elks was that we would pave it within 2 years. If we choose not to do that, choose not to pave it, we would have to go and renegotiate with the Elks on how they want to handle that. They gave us parking in that space with the intent that we would pave it. If we choose not to, they may choose not to allow us to park during the day.
Okay, that question's answered. Is there any other questions or comments from board or staff?
Should we not approve to move forward with this today, and we just push it down the road until we figured out some other things that we got going on? And let's just say we got it back on the agenda in April or May or June or something, once we know some numbers. With the timeline to get the parking lot completed, would that still be able to happen next year?
Yeah, so the reason we're coming to you today is because ideally we'd like to get this out in January so we can get it on the contractor's schedule in the wintertime, so it could be one of the first paving jobs to be done in the spring. If we do decide to not approve it or table it until April, again, and you guys approve it in April, we could definitely get it in the schedule and it would be done before the snow flies next year, or end of paving season, which is typically 1st of November. So, yes, we could get it done next year if we were to wait till April or May. Or
And then how stern are you on the engineer's estimate? Do you feel the project's going to come in at that number? Do you think it'll be considerably lower?
That's a good question.
Okay, so
I think so. From mine, again, the biggest increase was because it's a thicker pavement section, right?
Okay.
I think these guys, that's what they do.
Okay.
I don't think it's really going to deviate that much unless, again, price of oil goes up. I
Yeah.
mean, we just have no control over that.
Okay. And then since we do have this on the agenda and the plans are there, it says on the plans that there's 2 payment types or sections. Is that who determines how they're going to do that, or is that?
So we have 2 pavement sections on there. One is to actually over-X the unsuitable material, so they would take 3 feet of that out and they would export it out. The other option is to scarify, recompact that unsuitable material, lay the geogrid, and then put the pavement section on. We put the 2 options on there so we could say if the contractor says, oh yeah, we can do this one cheaper, then we'll go with that option. Basically we're value engineering it that way, so we could say which option's going to be, both options are suitable, which option is the cheapest. So, but we don't know that until the contractor actually puts a price to that.
Okay. All right.
I think we need to explore some other alternatives, and I'll just leave it at that. If we can table this and not do anything, and
I'm in agreement with you on that.
Randy, do you know what the threshold is for work having to be taken out to a contractor for public works work or work that can be done in-house? The monetary threshold?
I don't know. What is yours? 250? Yeah, so typically we do, I think $100,000 turns into public works projects. I think the county can do $250,000 projects, so this kind of almost sits right in there. I guess Gary would have to be answered more to that if he can do all of that work. Typically he's doing, slurry, or not slurry seals, but chip sealing. So this involves paving and infiltrators. And I mean, there's just more stuff in there. I'm not sure if the road department has the ability to do that. So that'd be okay, so there you go. So Gary can do it, yes. So,
I'd like to entertain that option, see what it would cost the road department to do this project, and then come back here and give us that number and see what that number is instead of going that
'cause
route.
this
Just to see
price
what that number
does-
is. Again, we're
yeah.
doing the comp study, so even if the road department comes back and says, oh, it's only gonna be 100,000, I mean, personally, I would still wanna look at it and be like, do we really need to do this right now? And if we have to go back to the Elks and negotiate again, then so be it. But again, we have that comp study, like Commissioner Hyde said, so.
yeah, and this estimate actually does include prevailing wage rates, right? Because it is over $100,000. So that would be less if we do it with the county.
Well, it's definitely a vital, important project for the county, so we definitely will look at all of our options. Do we know if we have like 1 year left on that agreement with the Elks? So we got time there, right?
I think we should have almost a year and a little bit, right?
15 months, 16 months or so.
Okay, so we don't need to
We've
do
got
anything
time.
about that just yet. I totally agree with the other two commissioners on exploring an option with the county road department. And then go from there. Maybe if Mr. Fowles could maybe break it down in 2 sections, you know, like the preparation of everything and then the finished product of everything, so we can see that, what that is maybe.
Would
Just
you
to-
like
So we
us?
can stretch our funds as much as possible.
Okay. Would you like us to table until April and then have that information there in April? Would you like to see that information from Gary sooner rather than
I mean,
later?
as soon as Gary on his schedule is, when he can get it ready, just so we know, again, even if it comes back and it's 100,000, we still have that comp study, we might not approve it up here. So as soon as he could get the information, we'll definitely look at it and entertain it.
That'll gives us a good thought process of where we're at, and so we can implement that into our thinking. Thank you.
Do we need a motion for this?
Motion to table.
Motion to table?
Mr. Chair, I move to table this item, item A, under old business.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion to be tabled.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Randy. We'll now jump to new business. 10A, consideration of possible action, recommendation of the board's choice to the governor for consideration to serve on the Nevada Clean Energy Fund Board. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So back in October, I received a letter from the governor's office, specifically from the Nevada Clean Energy Fund Board. This is a board that happens to have a member that is retiring from the board. And so the governor's office is looking for a rural representative to sit on that board. If you look at the agenda report, it gives you the members of that board. Typically, Washoe County and Clark County have a representative that sit on that board, being the largest and the second largest population in terms of county. And so the governor's office is looking for one representative from the remaining 15 rural counties. There's not a name put in there. This was a difficult conversation to have because we're trying to solicit names from the board without being able to get together with the board and talk about it. What they're looking for is they're looking for a representative from the energy sector to be able to sit on this board. They're not asking for a commissioner or staff. They're really looking for a nomination of somebody that sits, that is in the energy sector here locally. Once a name has been determined by the board, I would request that the board gives the county manager the authorization to write that letter and submit that to the governor's office. And again, keep in mind that just because you're making a nomination certainly doesn't mean that this person is automatically appointed to the board. Again, there could be several nominations coming from several different counties. So really, this comes down to a discussion and then a deliberation and a name that you may come up with, and then give me the authorization to submit that letter to the governor. And I'll answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions or comments from board or staff?
Mr. Chair, I solicited a few people, and I did have a conversation with Monty Morrison, who is a long-standing career in energy production and a longtime citizen of Churchill County. He's always worked to better the community. And he agreed that he would accept this nomination if we were to use them, so that would be my name that I would present today.
I didn't talk to Monty about this, but that was the name that popped into my head, is Monty Morrison.
But he seemed to be excited about doing it, and he made sure that he would have time for it. That was his biggest hurdle, and he confirmed that. So that's who I would like to recommend if there's no issue.
I have no issue with that. Can I get a motion, or any public comment? Can I get a motion for that, please?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to recommend that Monty Morrison be recommended to the governor to fill a position on the Nevada Clean Energy Fund.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. 10B, consideration of possible action, revocation of appointment and official oaths for people who are no longer serving in the capacity or position or have more recent official oaths on file. Pam?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is another housekeeping item that we do periodically so that we can clean up our official oaths that are on file and in the recorder's office. So I'm just asking that you would approve this list for now, and we can get those cleaned up.
Thank you, Pam. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Any public comment? If none, a motion, please.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the revocation and of appointed and official oaths for the people listed in the document who are no longer serving in that capacity or have a more recent official oath on file.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. 10C, consideration of possible action, recommendation to the governors regarding the appointment of Churchill County Manager Chris Ross to the State Land Use Planning Advisory Council to fill the remainder of a former County Manager Jim Barbie term ending December 31st, 2025, as well as serve the next term running from January 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2028, and designation of Joe Sanford, Assistant County Manager, as the alternative for both terms. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the county manager for Churchill County has typically represented the county on the SLUPAC board. As you saw, or as in the agenda item, Jim Barbie was the county's representative on that board, and myself, as the previous assistant county manager, was the alternate. As Mr. Barbie is no longer here, I'm recommending that I take his place on the board through the end of this year, and then again for the next term running through to December 31st, 2028. And to replace me as the alternate, I'm recommending that Joe Sanford, again, the Assistant County Manager, be appointed as the alternate for both of those terms.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? If none, a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, motion to recommend that County Manager Chris Ross be appointed to the SLUPAC as Churchill County's representative to fill the remainder of former County Manager Jim Barbie's term ending December the 31st, 2025, as well as to serve the next term running from January 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2028, and designate Assistant County Manager Joseph Sanford as an alternative for both terms.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. New business 10D, consideration and possible action, appointment of Joe Sanford to replace Chris Ross on the Board of Directors of Fallon Golf Course Incorporated for the remainder of his current term ending December 31st, 2026. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Bross for the record. So back in 2023, this board appointed myself to be one of the two representatives for Churchill County on the Fallon Golf Course Board. At this point in time, I feel like that is not a duty that I can continue to perform. And so therefore, I'm recommending that Joe Sanford, again, the Assistant County Manager, be appointed to that board for the remainder of my term, which ends December 31st, 2026.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Any public comment? If none, a motion, please.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Joe Sanford to replace Chris Ross on the Board of Directors of the Fallon Golf Course, Inc., for the remainder of his current term ending December 31st, 2026.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. New business 10E, consideration and possible action, ratification of the advanced step placement for former CART employees as transportation specialist at Step 2, Grade 30. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joe Sanford for the record. As you'll recall, this board decided to take over operations of the CART program starting in October of 2025. We asked each of the employees and drivers who are part of the CART program to come and be employees of Churchill County. Currently, it is a casual position. It will be being considered for more complete positions as time goes on and as the program becomes fully developed. 2 employees agreed and have come to be drivers for Churchill County. They were paid slightly more at the CART program, and so the lesser of that cost was determined to be step 2 of our transportation specialist position. It is an advanced step placement. These are drivers who currently know our routes, and so we're asking the board to ratify the decision to place them at step 2 of that position as new employees. The fiscal impact is about $500 per employee.
Thank you, Joe. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? If none, a motion, please.
Does that mean?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to ratify the advanced step placement of former CART employees as transportation specialists as step 2, grade 30.
Do I have a second to that motion? I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
Nay.
those opposed?
Nay.
Okay. We'll jump to passes 2-1. New business 10F, consideration possible action. Adoption of updated job titles and pay tables for fiscal year 2026 to include updated for recently created positions. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a housekeeping item. These positions have already been created within the county. However, they were not listed on our pay table, specifically the Assistant Road Supervisor and the Public Defender Legal Intern. There was a blank in our table for the CNHD officer, and so that has been filled in as set by the board, and I'm just asking you to adopt it as has previously been acted on by the board.
Thank you, Joe. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? If none, a motion, please.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the updated fiscal year 2026 job and pay tables as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. 10G, consideration and possible action, appointment of Wade Carner as a new employee to the position of Chief Deputy District Attorney Civil with an advanced step placement of grade 83, step 12. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Joe Sanford for the record. The Chief Civil Deputy District Attorney position was open. Applicants were received and interviewed by the District Attorney's Office. They have recommended Wade Carner to fill that position. They have asked that he be placed at step 12 of the pay scale. That is a 12 of 13. That would require action by this board. There are 2 bases to do an advanced step placement. One is a difficulty in filling the position, and 2 is exceptional skills related to that position. There were 3 applicants for this position. It was open for a short time, and so I do not believe it is based on the difficulty of filling the position at this time. It is based off of the skills of the applicant. I would note for the board, we typically do not do placements at this level, and so I have asked Mr. Mills and the District Attorney's Office to prepare a presentation or statement as to why it is appropriate in this case.
Thank you, Joe. The floor is all yours, Lane.
Thank you. You know, I think we find ourselves here today, got to go to a little history here, is I'm in a different pay scale than this step 83, which you're looking at. And so, and Mr. Sanford's predecessor was on my pay scale. The former county commissioners decided to reduce the pay of that pay scale by $15,000 at the bottom end and at the top end by $10,000. And that's why we're here. I'm relatively sure that if they hadn't have done that, we would still have Mr. Sanford as the chief deputy. But they did, and we were not involved in that process. Mr. Shawcroft left our office for a higher paying job. And so this actually, we're here because we have to, if we still had that old pay scale which got retired and is grandfathered in, we wouldn't be here. I think this would be somewhat competitive. We had 3 applicants. And just to remind you that the last attorney position that we had open, we had 2 applicants, one of whom showed up for interview. And we also had to come to you to ask for a step increase because our pay scale is so wildly out of whack. That employee had to take a pay cut to come here too. This potential employee will be taking a pay cut to come here as well. And that's why we find ourselves here, is because we have not kept up with the job market, and the last set of county commissioners cut the pay for this particular position, which is an important position. This individual has extensive civil litigation background in the private sector, not just in the public sector, but in the private sector, working in construction defect, and then also working for one of the law firms that does work for Pool Pack. And this individual also works for the Washoe County District Attorney's Office in their civil division, and things to know about them is they don't have a Pool Pack. They do all their civil litigation themselves. And so this individual has extensive experience doing civil litigation on behalf of the county and pre-planning those types of things out, knowing what's important in those types of things, which we believe is something that we need for you, our county commissioners, and you, our county. And so we believe he has exceptional experience that is worthy of this step increase. It's, as you will see, that I think Arthur prepared some materials for the packet, which shows that by the time that this individual could come on, this will be a almost neutral budget for this fiscal year, because we'll have had at least 3 months of savings that we have not had to outlay. And so it's relatively neutral for this year's budget. And quite frankly, if we're doing the comp study, that you will see, I think, that going forward, as we go forward on this, that this is actually right in line with where we should be.
Okay, thank you, Lane. Any questions or comments from board or staff?
So were those numbers figured, because the fiscal impact is, there is going to be a fiscal impact?
There is. It's slight, though. I mean, our numbers did not include the PERS numbers, but the PERS numbers is a percentage, and so, I mean, it's a slight impact, but it is, there's an impact. And I will also note that with respect to our budget, we lost another employee, and we're gapping that position for 90 days, and we have another employee coming off where we're probably going to have to gap that one for another 90 days too. So with respect to our budget, we expect that this will be revenue neutral.
For this fiscal year?
And just also as a reminder, the chief deputy civil position, along with our other deputy civil positions, they also get some of that money comes down the back end from either child support or through CCCOM for the work for CCCOM, or through the health district for the health district work that they do, which I believe is about a quarter of the salary for each, the health district, CCCOM, and 2/3 of their hourly rate for anything related to child support, which they have to bill at 6-minute increments.
Any other questions or comments from board or staff?
I'll just tell you, I said it earlier, the theme for me today with our compensation study coming forward is I'm not willing to do this currently. I understand. We had 3 applicants. I don't know who they were. I don't know their qualifications. And to be honest with you, I'm not qualified to pick those qualifications. My responsibility is to be fiscally responsible. And with this compensation study really worries me what we're going to be up against after this. And I know there's not a great fiscal hit, but it's 29,000 here, 14,000 here. That's where you start gaining ground. So I'm not in favor of starting this person at step 12, and I don't even know who this person is. I know his name, and it wouldn't matter. It's just the situation that we are in. So my fellow commissioners might be okay with it, but at this point, I'm not okay with step 12.
I think it's extremely challenging. I mean, the job market, you could maybe correlate it to the actual price that we're putting on this job here. The job market's incredibly challenging across the board. I mean, you could offer tons and tons of money, but someone will always go around and try to go find better money from somewhere else. And then the other thing too, that this is our legal representation for the county. I mean, it's a very, very important position that we need in the county. So if that's what it takes to get a person that's qualified to do all of our civil work, then I in my opinion, I mean, we almost have no option. Every single time public defender's office advertises for lawyers, the DA's office advertises for lawyers, they have very, very few applicants. And so I guess in my eyes, this is almost a part of the comp study, is rechecking and re-putting it where it should be. But that's just my opinion. Any other questions or comments from board or staff?
Mr. Chair, I have a question for Mr. Mills. So if this person starts at a step 12 and the compensation study is done and it is shown that this person or this position, let me rephrase that, requires a bump of $10,000, is it the intent to keep this position or this person at that, of the value of step 12, or is he going to move the same rate that everybody else would move? I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I think you understand what I'm saying.
I think I understand what you're saying, is like, would that person move up to the new step 12? Right? Or would that person be, I don't want to say step 1, but I mean, I think that's one of the things that when we talk about, and we're going to talk about this afternoon, is that benchmarking aspect of the comp study, which is where we find ourselves because we've allowed ourselves to, I don't want to get off topic here, allowed ourselves to fall so far behind that when we've had new hires, and this has occurred across the county, we've had to put them at higher steps than you ordinarily would have, which is inherently unfair to the people who have already been here for a long time and put in their time, and now all of a sudden this person who's been here for just a blink of an eye is like 1 year behind them. And so, I mean, and that's why this comp study is so important, is because there's some inequities when we have this. And I think that is something that a comp study would have to address in the benchmarking aspect of that comp study as to where is the particular place for that person on that. Does that answer your question?
Comp study aside, have we ever brought somebody in at step 12 in any position, whether it's a secretary, anywhere that anybody knows of historically?
Honestly, not that I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of. We have brought people who have left at step 13 and then say they took 2 years off to have a baby or something like that and came back, have been brought back at step 13, but I do not know anyone who's been placed originally at step 13 or 12.
I would, just so you're aware that this is a former Churchill County employee. I mean, it was a while ago, but this is somebody who
You know,
was the attorney, the civil attorney for us lives in our community, and has lived in our community. And just so we had 3 total applicants for this, and that was it. It's not like we had 3 interviews. We interviewed everybody who put in an application.
The current position is at a step 6, is that correct? The previous person? Was that a step 6?
Yes,
of
it
the-
was, yes.
And you mentioned that if you felt like he had a different pay scale, he may not have transferred. Is that correct?
I think that's a possibility.
Okay.
You'd have to ask him. I know he
Did-
had.
did you have that-
Everybody has their own motivations
Okay. Well,
for this, but, I mean, I think this is one of those things that when we learned that this position had been downgraded after Mr. Shawcroft left to step 83, we were a little upset because we were not involved in that process. And we're not here to talk about that, and that was not this board.
Yeah, that's correct.
It was not this board, and so, and we were left out of that process.
I understand.
And so, because we think that this position, as somebody who's the chief deputy of the civil division, which is responsive to you, oversees the office, the civil office. If I'm not around or Art's not around, they also oversee the entirety of the rest of the district attorney's office. And so this is a position that's not just a lawyer, it's also a position with responsibilities of oversight and of a number of people, a number of different departments, and they have to, it's a very broad responsibility. It's also a public responsibility, and they have a boss. And so, which you can differentiate from other positions at this pace, at this step 83.
I realize, go ahead.
You had 3 qualified you would agree that they're all qualified for the position?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, I want to choose my words carefully here. Because this was not listed and has not been approved as a critical need position, one of those candidates could not have filled it
Okay,
because they were on PERS.
I understand. Do you think that, give me a second. Is the step 12, is that a hard negotiation on this person that's in question?
I think so.
And of course, I understand that you can cover it in this year's cycle budget, but then next year it's going to increase the budget as well. Do you feel there's any way we can get back to what's been budgeted for this position for this year, for this person, and allow the compensation study to do its job to confirm where we're at?
Well, we can take that position to them, if that's the board's desire. I don't know, honestly.
Okay,
I mean, I don't know. I do know that, then we're out more time for our office, which is, I will just say is a hardship on all of our other attorneys, but yeah.
okay. And then what's the, how long can a gap go before it's detrimental to your department without this position being
I mean,
filled?
I think it's detrimental now.
It's detrimental now.
I think it's been detrimental now, yeah.
And then, from the research
Yeah,
I've done, this person has a little bit of time left in the system if he chooses to use PERS as his retirement system. And if we do a 12 placement, I mean, is in 3 or 4 years, is fatigue going to set in and be like, well, he can't go any higher, and now he's moving on to look for something else. And then, so we satisfy him today, but we can't satisfy him tomorrow, and then we stir the bucket all at the same time. And that's concerning. And people, I mean, I'm allowed to have my own opinion, and when people don't get continuous raises, they get fatigued with their job, and that's human nature, and that's why this moving forward, the compensation study is so important to me, and also moving forward that we get that compensation study on a regular basis to always make sure that we're doing everything we can, so we're not letting people walk away because they're fatigued on their salary.
And I don't disagree with that analysis. That's a valid analysis. I will say that, so far as I know, every county employee is on a 13-step scale. I am not. I'm on a 15-step scale. Everybody else gets a much higher percentage raise than I do. And so there are pros and cons to those longer scales. I'll just say that. I don't think they're necessarily all there is to attract and retain talent is that longer scale. There is something to be said for the quality of an organization, the quality of the culture in an organization to retain people beyond pay. And frankly, I think we have that here in Churchill County. I think when I look around and I see the quality of the culture that we have with all of our elected officials, all of whom are in the room right now, as far as their people, and the collegiality that we have with everybody, I think there is something to be said for that in retaining people beyond pay. And I think you can show that here because we have somebody who wants to come back to Churchill County at a reduced pay for this job.
I did some, not a lot of research on Wade. Knew he's here, don't know why he left. Know he lives here. Can imagine why he wants to come back here. He probably hates the commute. So we can never say why somebody leaves, or there's various reasons. It might be money, it might be whatever. The more I think about this, I don't love setting this precedent and starting somebody at a step 12, because then everybody in the county's going to come and want to start, because everybody's hard to find, right? It's not just attorneys. Attorneys are extremely hard to find. I'm going through my mind of what we've got moving forward. I don't believe that he's going to take less. I don't believe that the person, whoever was left, would probably not play second fiddle. So I believe that we're in a spot right now. We've been without one for a while. So I know I don't want to start it, and it's nothing to do with, I don't even know him. I couldn't pick him out of a crowd. But it's that precedence, and nobody can tell me whether it's ever been done before, and it doesn't sound like it has that anybody knows of. But I do believe that when the compensation study, this is really what kind of got me, is what was said, he's probably going to come in there anyways. So how long are we going to kick that can down the road? The other thing people need to realize with the compensation study, sometimes it doesn't always come in your favor. So when it doesn't come in your favor, you got to play that side too. So that's something this commission is going to have to figure out. But with this, I came in a hard no. I'm a little bit worried about the things that are in our frying pan right now. And it sounds like he has immense qualifications, experience with the civil side. So I think we're up against it. So
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Comment on, we seem to be overlooking some obvious facts. Number one, this has a effectively neutral effect on our budget for the year, period. So that's not an issue. Number two, this particular individual is taking approximately a 30 to 40,000 a year cut in their pay to be able to come to Churchill County. They already live here, they want to live here. So that's not a problem, somebody wanting to leave. They would like to stay here. And that's, so assuming that they're going to go on to a higher salary, they've already done that once and decided they'd rather live in Churchill County at a lower salary. So that's to our benefit. And to base a decision on what may or may not come out of a future study that you control is ignoring the fact that most litigation can be prevented by good legal advice at the very beginning while the transaction is occurring or when the problem first comes up. Without that good legal advice, you automatically step into a situation where it's very possible for litigation to snowball because we weren't able to be present to give you the legal advice that we needed to. We have a mandatory requirement to try to prevent the county from being involved in an unnecessary litigation. By not providing us the resources that we need, then you're opening up the county to more costly litigation, possibly in the future. And that's in the same category as worrying about the wage study. That's something that's in the future. If it comes out lower, then this person will have to look at that and think about it. However, after making the change, I would doubt very seriously that this individual would want to relocate again after he's able to come back to where he lives, where his family is, where they're enjoying the benefits of Churchill County, and we've got to consider that. So just to automatically say no to something like this after the previous administration cut our pay on this position without consulting us, and we're trying to get something back to normal, seems like a double insult in a way to the fact that we're not being consulted about getting people that we need to do the job for you. Nobody's going to get super rich by doing that. All the money's staying in Churchill County. We don't hire outside the county that live outside the county. We have asked for an extra civil deputy for the last 3 years, and we've been told that it wasn't in the cards, in the budget, and we were very kindly accepted that without any turmoil, even though we're overtaxing our civil people. By doing this, all of the multiple boards that you have will have less than the legal advice that we think they need. All of the other transactions that you have, although you have an excellent person doing human relations now, human resources, all of that opens us up to other possibilities too that we could deal with at the beginning rather than wait and somebody drives off the hill. We can build a fence at the top of the hill. That's what we're trying to do. So to be so short-sighted as to say, worry about people's steps when in fact the county is the one that put us in this position, it seems to us somewhat unjust. We're trying to do the proper job for the people of Churchill County. And to think that doing a proper job for protecting the people from possible future losses, to be sure that people conduct their business in an appropriate, legal, and ethical manner, and preventing us from being able to do that because of lack of manpower. I mean, Mr. Mills and I can only be stretched so far, and we're the only ones in the office who've done extensive civil litigation. Then you're really handicapping the office. So it's your absolute right to take that position. But you're putting us in a position where we are worried about the future jeopardy of the county and its legal position on many things because we aren't able to provide that. It's true you've got a very fine assistant county manager, but he's not allowed to give you legal advice that you can rely on in performing your duties as county commissioners. So doing that, you're opening up almost a Pandora's box of problems, whereas we have a neutral effect on the budget for this year. Whatever comes out in the salary study, Mr. Mills can say what he thinks one way or the other it might be, but we don't know. It might come out totally different. But at the same time, the county commissioners, not this group, but in the past, have failed to maintain a proper standard of pay for our county workers, and it's getting us, we're quickly, rapidly approaching something that could be termed a very untenable position for the county. And we see that all the time. So we need to think about that. And just being short-sighted and say, well, we'll just cut this money right here off, and that'll save us some money, might come back to bite us in the long run if we're going to be short-sighted about that. Now, that's your decision, and we respect that. And we'll do our best to do a good job in whatever circumstances you put us in, because that's our job. However, we can only do so much. And instead of having 3 people in the civil division, which we had, we've been dealing with 2 for the last 3 years. Now we're down to down to 1. And in all likelihood, based on our recruiting, we won't be able to easily fill any position in the civil division based on the competition we have from other areas. So we have a golden opportunity to take someone who is part of the community, who wants to be in this community, who's taking a substantial pay cut to come to our community and provide us with what we consider excellent quality legal representation. And we're throwing that out the window for the sake of what we think might be, possibly, future cost, when right now there is no cost, period. And there won't be until the budget time comes up and you have an opportunity to decide that.
Is this fiscal impact not correct?
I'll give you the fiscal impact, what this is. So there's fiscal impact notes. Let me pull up the actual numbers here. But the fiscal impact of $51,540.52 is from step 1 to step 12.
Got it.
Per year. The $29,866.20 is the fiscal impact per year between the step that I was at and the new step 12.
Per year?
Per year. The $21,043.04 that is referenced is the savings from having that position open from when I departed until when this would be started in November of, I think November 23rd or something like that was the date that was provided. So this, what is being described here as budget neutral for this year is based off of the savings from having a vacant position. Next year, there will be fiscal impact.
Do you know what that would be?
Yes, from my prior step, it would be $29,866.20, obviously depending on whatever the compensation study does.
So in other words, Commissioners, I guess I'll put it this way. We're begging. We're literally begging you to help us do our job in a manner and at a level that Churchill County deserves. And to do anything less would be a disservice to all of us, not just the district attorney's office, but to the commissioners and the rest of the departments in the county. So we're begging you literally to consider this so we can get on with our business at a reasonable level, not an outstanding level. Otherwise, we'd be talking about Washoe County salaries. But a reasonable level of compensation as it should have been if it hadn't been changed earlier. So that's all we're asking for. And when it comes budget time, We have total respect for whatever you want to do at budget time, and we'll have to live with that. But right now, as Joe pointed out, there's really no loss change in our budget revenue, budget payouts until budget time, right? Is that right, Joe?
I believe it's about $8,000 for this year between the suspected savings and the new position in cost. I would say, in case there's any implication that you would be able at budget time to reduce his salary back, that is not an option.
And if you're not satisfied, you have a lot of leeway in what you can decide to do.
So on the old, so
Go ahead.
Lane's telling me to be quiet.
would that, would that pay scale that they got rid of, would it be the same as yours?
That is, yeah, and it's in
And
the
so
pay
where would step
tables.
6 or 7 be on that scale?
Well, that's 15.
Right.
And so, and that is at, let me just get my glasses out real quick here. It'd be step 9 on my pay scale. And so, and I mean, it's just one of those, I mean, as I told Commissioner Blakey, I mean, you have people who like it here, who are working here, even though everybody else is making a lot more money. And so,
That makes a lot more sense to me now.
yeah,
Because, and this is the first I heard that they got rid of that is today.
oh, yeah, well, there's no reason you would know.
Right.
It's kind of there's some other stuff that went on there that's not germane to our discussion here. But, yeah.
Well, I'm glad I did know today. Because that also makes me think differently about this. And it may be something that needs to be brought up come budget time.
Thank you both for your comments and your input. I just want to make sure you know, we've not made any decisions at this moment. We were merely having discussions. I know that the conversation sounds as if we've made up our mind, but I don't think we've made up our mind today. I am knowing that the compensation study is coming, but I'm putting no weight on that for this position today because it's irrelevant, it's not happened. I can't use any of that evidence, there's no evidence. What my biggest concern, as I mentioned before, I'll mention again, is the employee getting payroll fatigue because he's already out of 12 and we expect him to stay for 10 years and he's only going to get maybe a COLA, maybe along the way after a couple more years. That's my biggest concern because sure, we get you there and we do it and then he leaves in 5 years because somebody else did something else. That's just my largest concern. And I know that your office probably thought about that. I know your office probably has a good feel for the pay scale that needs to happen. I'm not a lawyer. I'll never will be a lawyer. It's concerning that he's going to get fatigued, right, on the pay. And you've made mention that you don't think anything can happen below a 12. So is there even an option, if we were to approve this today, like even if, is there an option, it's like, can you go and negotiate back down to, starting at no less than an 8, but in between an 8 and a 12 and try to find a happy medium there that works for both of us to help us out so he doesn't get pay fatigue over the time?
Yeah,
I'm not so worried about pay fatigue. He's lived here the whole time, correct? He wants to be in Fallon.
well, he's lived here for the last few years. Just so you know that in Washoe County, they actually work from home a fair amount of the time. And so the district attorney's office there, and that's a thing for them. And so it's a perk, as you might guess.
No.
And so I can't answer that question. I do just want to let you know a couple things, and Arthur said it, mentioned it, so I'll just mention it, that even before we lost an employee, Mr. Sanford, they were so busy that they had to unload a portion of their workload, the civil division's workload, onto the criminal division. So our criminal division has been doing, all the DCFS, all the 432B, and now we're having to redistribute that even more because out of fairness to our remaining civil deputy, who has just a ton of stuff to review, and there's meetings that that take time away from the family. So we've divided up some of those meetings so that he's not being dumped on. And so even before we lost this, the civil division was kind of underwater with the workload. It's so busy. And so, that's why we're here, begging you, as Mr. Mallory stated.
The other thing too that I'll add is that I don't know if you guys have, because as you guys know, we can't talk outside public meetings, but I've been to my secondary board meetings, and I'll have someone from the criminal side representing the library board meetings and stuff like that. They're extremely behind, and so I've been on board with this since I read it aloud for the first time today. The other thing to consider too is, I got to think about how I want to phrase that. It's really none of our business if he's going to get pay fatigue. I guarantee you, he's probably thought about that and has already looked at that. He wants to be in Churchill County is what he's after, and they've agreed that that's where he needs to be at, is at step 12. And just like Lane said as well, on his pay scale, this is only would you say a 9? I think a 9, something along the lines of that. So
Yeah.
those are all things to consider, and that's what's kind of going through my brain. So is there any other questions or comments from board or staff?
I just want to make sure that I'm not opposing the situation. It's just, it's a lot. Where do we start, And I'm in the private sector. I know all about pay fatigue. Happens all the time. And it costs people a lot of money. So that's just, I'm a nuts and bolts kind of guy. So, and I do it. Do you need an attorney? Yes, you do. Do you need more than one attorney? Yes, you do. But I'm just trying to be responsible, I guess, would be the way to say it. That's all I have to say.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that this is why we have these discussions. And sometimes they're uncomfortable, but sometimes it gets somebody who was not on board, completely off board, on board. So it's important to note, we don't want to be telling the DA's office who to hire. Unfortunately, we've got to look at the fiscal side of it. But after I learned about the two different pay scales, one got, and now that makes a little bit more sense to me of where the placement is. So, and I don't really worry about, I agree with Miles. It's none of our business if he leaves because of pay fatigue, or we can't worry about that. We have to have somebody now. He wants to be here. I worked at the phone company for almost 30 years, and at some point you top out in a pay scale, and you're counting on COLAs. I didn't necessarily get pay fatigue. It's just when you come in, you know that that's where you're at, and you've made that decision. So that's why it doesn't worry me. I understand there is that factor in some industries, but time will tell, right? And we need somebody today. I don't love but I understand it better now. So through this discussion, we don't get to discuss these things behind closed doors. We do it in an open meeting, and this isn't the first time that I've gone into a meeting completely one way and through discussion and further understanding, I've went back the other way. So it's important to note that that's why this is the way it is.
Anything else? Is there any public comment? If none, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Mr. Chair, I've moved to approve the advanced step placement of the prospective employee to grade 83, step 12.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
New business 10H, consideration of possible action, approval of the creation of a senior deputy public defender position within the public defender's office at grade 79. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joe Sanford for the record. The Public Defender's Office has been recruiting for attorneys for some period of time to fill vacant positions. They have been unsuccessful with a DA1, or a Public Defender 1 and a Public Defender 2 position. There is a senior district attorney position available in the district attorney's office. There is no correlating position in the Public Defender's Office. This is a request to create that parity position within the Public Defender's Office and to recruit for that. I'll just give a little backstory. You probably may be familiar, but we haven't had a ton of this discussion with this new board. But some years ago, the state was sued for the provision of indigent defense in the rural counties, and that resulted in the creation of the Department of Indigent Defense, sometimes called DIDS. There was a settlement with the state that required the rural counties to take certain actions in order to come into compliance in providing services. As a result of that, Churchill County ultimately created the Public Defender's Office. A study was completed by the state that is recommending 7 and I think 0.3 attorneys in the Public Defender's Office. We currently have 3 full-time attorneys as well as a conflict counsel who handles cases where both the public defender and the alternate public defender have conflicts. As part of that agreement, the state agreed to pay any of the additional costs over what the base cost of Churchill County was for the provision of indigent defense at the time of the settlement. Then it's adjusted for inflation. Our number was around $400,000. It's been, I think it's around $450,000 now. Anything that goes above that cost is to be paid by the state. Now, there has always been concerns that eventually the state, may choose not to pay that, and then we have employees that we have a cost for and are not receiving that reimbursement. But it has been since the 81st legislative session, so about 4 years, that this has been going on. They are continuing to pay and have been paying. They do not pay 100%. It is we do have to meet that initial pay cost, and then the additional salaries are being picked up. There are some incidental costs that end up not being picked up, I think clothes and some small items associated like that, but the salaries have been being picked up. This position was discussed with the Department of Indigent Defense to ensure that if this position was recruited, that they would be okay with paying it at the salary that is presented. They have confirmed that that is acceptable to them, and so I will leave it to Jake to express any needs that he has in his office.
Well, Jacob Summer for the record, Public Defender. Thank you, Joe. That was a good introduction. I think our recruiting efforts are ongoing. As the board knows from a few months ago, we came before the board to ask for a legal intern position. I'm thrilled to indicate that we did make an offer for that. We have a legal intern that will be starting in January. And in my continued efforts to discuss the shortage of our staff attorneys, the state executive director of the Department of Indigent Defense, Mr. Handy, and I have talked a number of times. And I have received over the past few months a couple of inquiries from attorneys outside of our county that indicate that they may be interested, just depending on the positions. Most of those attorneys are experienced well beyond the first and second positions that we have offered currently. So this is just another tool for recruitment. Certainly, we hope that this will be filled quickly, but we're just trying to make sure we expand our toolbox as we go forward. I think that it will be successful as we continue to work with the state and also with the county in terms of these needs. As Mr. Sanford said, we are still, I think if you include the intern that we're hoping will turn into a full attorney position, we still need to fill 3 full-time attorney slots to meet those standards as the state has indicated. So we're working with them. They're happy with us in the efforts, and we continue to try to maintain a good relationship so that we don't get sideways with them. But this is just another opportunity for us to expand the toolbox.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from board or staff?
Mr. Chair, Jacob, is it your intent to advertise for this position should it be approved?
Depending on who shows interest, that may be the case. And I will say, this isn't responsive to your question, Chris, but I will say, just for the board's information, we have budgeted all of those positions already in our budget. So that money is already there. We just haven't used it because we haven't filled the positions. So in terms of budgeting, this is already within our budget.
And then I have one more question, and this may be better for Sherry. Assuming that number is $450,000 before DIDS starts to reimburse, do we have to expend that full $450,000 and then near the end of the year they start to pay, or do we get a certain percentage every time we can invoice for it?
I can answer that if you want, and Sherry can comment. But here's what happens is the amount that the county spent previously there was 3 contract attorneys that filled the needs for indigent defense in Churchill County. The county expended a certain amount of money for those contracts over the course of years. When the Department of Indigent Defense was created, they took that number and said, hey, with the exception of a little bit of increase every year for inflation, we're going to pay above that. So if you spend the $400,000 per year and you spend that, that's on you guys. But anything you spend above that, we reimburse, provided it's reimbursable, we reimburse that 100%. And so this is, I mean, maybe I shouldn't say this on a public record in terms of the state's obligation. This is essentially a blank check in my view. They are obligated by law to pay the difference. Once we meet our certain percentage, or it's not a percentage, whatever the number is, and it goes up a little bit every year for inflation, but once we hit that number, they pay everything else. And so we try to be real careful about these kind of things. I work with the state executive director, and so I've talked with him specifically about this position, and he said he has no concerns. It would be a reimbursable expenditure in the event that we decided to do it. So I think that answered your question, Chris.
So the $450,000 is just what the county would have spent on these contractors?
Yes.
It has nothing to do with an expense
No.
coming out of your office
No.
or Wright's office or anything like that?
They just pegged that number at what the county was spending at the time, and they said, we know that, you can't come up with, another $1.5 million on top of this. So the state said, we're going to cover all of that. Anything above that initial amount, we cover. So that money, it was pegged at whatever time it was. There was a date back 5-6 years ago that number was pegged at. And so it does go up a little bit every year. Now it's $450,000, but that's kind of where this came from.
So then I'm assuming that the money that you had in contracted services within your services and supplies, that was reduced by that amount to cover for the labor budget that you put into your budget. Is that correct?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
When you have contractors, I'm assuming that's a contracted service.
Oh, are you talking about contracted attorneys?
Yes.
Yes.
The 3 that you had contracted
Yes.
for, I'm assuming that budget was removed out of your budget because it's being replaced by in-house attorneys, because you had said that you had already budgeted for those attorneys.
I see what you're saying. So the amount that Churchill County had paid previously to the 3 contractors, and I was one of those contractors, but that amount was the amount that they set the number for. When the county opened the Office of Public Defender, and when I came on in terms of leading this organization, whatever that budget number was that had been spent before was shifted over into my office. And so Correct. Does that answer your question?
It does. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that this was before we had a public
Yes.
defender's office. I thought it
Yes.
was in addition to the
No.
public defender's office.
This was before the creation of my office. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from board or staff?
Are we currently meeting that base cost?
Yes, we're meeting the base costs. The expenditures for, excuse me, 2025 were $1.1 million, and the revenues were $600,000. So our cost for last year was $521,000 for the combined office of the alternate public and the contracts.
And I will just say the difference between the 450,000 and the 500 and whatever number Sherry just said is because indigent defense doesn't cover the cost of representing individuals who are in the 432B or the DCFS type cases. Those are not indigent costs, but they're required to be represented by, by public defenders. And so that's why that additional cost is there.
You also, when Mr. Spross asked a question about you're going to advertise for the position, can you remind me what your answer was? I don't think.
We don't necessarily intend to advertise unless we have need to do it. It's just that we've seen that there have been some inquiries from more experienced attorneys over the course of the last months, and if we need to advertise, we will. But right now, I don't have any intent to advertise necessarily. It's just a creation. It's a position that we're creating to ensure that if someone showed an interest and we needed to advertise, then we could.
Okay. thank
Yeah.
you.
I don't know that, well, yeah.
I understand
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
I have a question for Mr. Mallory. Is a chief deputy higher than a senior deputy?
Chief deputy is, I assume, higher than a senior deputy. Unfortunately, every county does it differently. They have different titles, like Washoe County has an assistant district attorney who outranks the chief deputies. The chief deputy is usually over division there, but a chief deputy is usually higher than a senior level district attorney. If I might add something, Mr. Summers has done an outstanding and very professional job in leading his office, and we appreciate having someone at his level doing that job, and I think we've all benefit from it. So I would say a thank you to Mr. Summers for the leadership he's provided over there.
Thank you.
Mr. Blakely, to give you some tangible, the chief is at a grade 83 and a senior is at a grade 79.
Okay. So then I just want to clarify, I may have wrote my numbers down wrong, but are we offering this position at a higher rate than we just approved someone for at a step 12?
No.
No.
We're creating the position with the step 1 and its salary is 162, correct?
Right. I think
that includes the benefits. So that 162 to 214 includes the 37% from PERS and the $12,000 of health insurance. And so it is a substantially lower.
So that actual pay is actually a
The
lot less
actual
than the
pay
168.
is significantly lower. I've
understand.
included the fiscal impact to show you the full fiscal impact to the county. But their base salary, like from the grades, I think is 110 to about 150 at grade 13.
That's what I wanted to make sure of, because, you didn't clarify, the other one was just the salary, 158 or something like that?
Correct. That was the base level that yes.
And this one's a full, combined number?
Correct.
And so there's two different things there, but if you don't have that written, it can be confusing that we're offering a new position that higher than what we just offered to someone else that supposedly has higher in the ranking, so.
Yes. So the previous position,
The loaded wage was above it in the notes.
The
sorry,
loaded weight
some
was
the notes included
229.
229, 713, and 94 cents was
So
completely
in the
off.
notes for the previous position, a a chief makes between $120,000 base, but $178,173.42 as the benefited rate at step 1. And at step 12, the position that was just included, base salary $158,620.80, a total compensation of $229,713.94.
Understand. Thank you for that.
You're also talking about an 83 versus a 79, so.
Correct.
Yeah, and there's about 2.5% increase between each grade, so it's at 10% between the two positions.
Any other questions? Is there any public comment? If none, I'll entertain motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the creation of a senior deputy public defender job class and the position to the pay table and approve hiring positions within that class.
Second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you, Commissioners, for your support.
Did anyone want to pull anything from the consent items? If not, a motion to approve those, please.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Does anyone have anything they want to consider for a future agenda item? Okay, we'll move on to Commissioner and Management Staff reports. We'll start with you, Commissioner Hyde.
Nothing at this time.
I have nothing. Commissioner Blakey.
I attended a CETA meeting, and the museum meeting didn't have a quorum, and I attended a UNR Outdoor Recreation Summit with the regional players, and they're developing an outdoor recreational plan for our area. More to come on that from Mr. Fred Steinman.
Sherry. Mr. Mallory. Joe.
Nothing, thank you.
Chris.
I'll be brief. I attended the inaugural America 250 committee meeting on Friday. That's a group of some government staff, private citizens, all getting ready to put events and plans together for the 250th birthday of our great nation coming next July 4th. So,
Linda.
My office has been really busy. In October, we collected $4.1 million of property taxes, and then of $540,000 of special assessments for other agencies. I'm hitting the financial side of it because that was very busy. In my interest allocation, I bring to you guys now that in August, I collected $243,000 plus, and then in September, interest that was earned was $258,000. So we're steady with our investments right now. Our Wells Fargo sweep account, which is attached to our checking account, had a balance in the sweep account of $7.3 million, and my returns for October are $29,351, which is almost 3 times what we anticipated for the sweep account. So we're doing good with that.
Awesome. Tara? Nothing. Pam?
Well, I did just want to introduce everybody that may not know Tara. She's our newest addition to our family, and she's going to be the new and improved Pam, so welcome her aboard.
Welcome to the team. Sheriff Hickox.
Good afternoon, or good morning. It's not quite afternoon yet, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you guys. Attended the Nevada Sheriffs and Chiefs meeting in Las Vegas, where I'm concluding my term as president of that association. It's been fun for the last 4 years, but my term's up, so I'll be stepping away a little bit. Our office has been very busy. We implemented a tablet in our lobby. You guys will be seeing it on the next tour that you have, unless you want to stop by and I can show it to you. It is a resource for the community. It's similar to the one that's at Pennington Life Center. It's developed by the same company during a meeting with them in regards to functions that are happening that will be changing in the jail with Medicaid and that kind of stuff. They told us that they had a tablet, and they did a little study and said that our lobby would be a good place for that, so we are putting that in our lobby. So we'll have a second resource tablet there. Additionally, we had put in for a grant earlier this year to expand our active shooter training. So if you guys are unaware, a few years ago, right after I got elected, I made a push with our office to become a leader in the active shooter training area in Nevada. Our agency had been very slack in some of that training. And so we became, every year we hosted a train the trainer for the first 2 years that I was elected. And now we've got those trainers. And so we've been hosting classes for regional area law enforcement officers, along with the Fallon Police Department. And we put in for a grant last year and got all of the equipment. The reason that we did that was because we were one of many agencies around the nation that were trying to get the same gear. And so our time slot was very limited. So now we own that gear. We can train as necessary. The reason that we put in for the grant this year was to expand the training tools that we had. They have come out with an outdoor training, so we're going to be sending our trainers to the become train the trainers for outdoor shooting events that might happen. And so we put in for that grant. We got that grant. That'll come into place in January. We've been working with Sherry's office on some of that, and we'll work closer with her as the time comes so we can have that. Headed to Sheriff's Fellowship Conference this week, actually, later this week. It's follow-up to some training that I attended last year. Other than that, we've just been pushing forward with making sure that the Public Defender's Office and the DA's office stays busy.
Thank you, Sheriff. Denise?
Denise Felton, Churchill County Assessor. My staff has finished reappraisal. We're finishing up all our declarations. We will be sending out assessment notices the first part of December, which notifies the taxpayers what we have on the roll, gives them an opportunity to question and appeal by January 15th if that's the case. So otherwise, we're right on schedule.
Okay, thank you. With that, claims and payroll are going around. At this time, is there any public comment? Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.